Hello and welcome to another video from the only source of information you need to not only survive the current apocalypse, but actually enjoy it. Today we're going to be talking about my wife because I made a video a couple of weeks ago where I said that, how depressed I was that I'm almost 60, I'm turning 60, and I've never had a girlfriend. I couldn't understand why I had to be alone all my life. So anyways, I got a whole lot of comments about my wife. It's like, well, how could you never have a girlfriend? You're married. So we're going to discuss that today.
Yeah, I think you got everybody a little confused. They didn't understand where you were coming from with that. But your wife's severely mentally ill, has been all of her life, right?
Right.
So we'll
Well,
start.
one of the things that has been coming out lately is I'm talking to my subscribers, and we're talking about the Holy Spirit. When you're filled with Holy Spirit, you're going to stand out from the crowd. You're going to be the target of all the bullies. And all of my YouTube friends are telling me that when they were growing up, they really didn't have any friends because there was no one they could talk to about real stuff. When you're around these NPCs, they will talk, but they're not going to talk about anything real. And if you talk about anything real, you're going to be abused. And so when I was in school, all of the kids, all of the boys beat me, and all the little girls laughed at me. So I had no friends. And when I was in the band, there were a couple of kids that were played the same instrument as me or whatever, and we would do things together at school. But for the most part, all of my friends at school were special ed. You can go back and look at all the videos I've made where I had other people in the car with me or at my house, and those people are all like they're mentally handicapped because that's the only friends I had in school was the people that were in special ed. And so that's where I met my so-called wife.
So well, again, we tried for 3 weeks to do your Who Am I video. Finally, you did it on your own. And what people don't realize during that time, we were trying to break this down and explain it so people would understand what you meant by you never had a girlfriend, but obviously you're married and you've had sex. Well, what's he talking about? And that really confuses people. It really confuses people who are religious, not spiritual. I think we have a lot of people that tune into your channel that come from a religion background and have a hard time giving up a lot of the rules and stuff that's been set in place by religion, society, school, and everything else. And if you come down to really studying the Bible and really looking at what Jesus is saying, he's telling you to give all that up. And so when people wrote in, I think there was a lot of comments after your Who Am I video, which kind of downing you about not understanding what they really didn't understand what you meant. And I think that's here what we're trying to clarify today. Basically, you've been married to somebody for 30 some years that you really haven't had a real relationship with, right?
Never. When I got out of the Navy, I was 26 years old. And I'm a really romantic guy. I'm a loving guy. I'm a lonely guy. And I had never held a girl's hand or kissed a girl. I had never even had a real conversation with a girl. I would try, but they would look at me like, who do I think I am talking to them? And, you know, when I came home from the Navy, I was just so lonely. And on top of that, my wife, Rachel, was abused and she had no one to talk to. She had no friends. I wasn't willing to take somebody in just to take care of them. I didn't have the resources for that. But I told Rachel that if she paid her half the bills and she did her half the chores, she could live with me. And so she left her family to come live with me. And we lived together for a year. She paid her half of the bills. I never asked her to give me rent or anything. All I asked her is her pay half the utilities, half the food. And she did her half of the chores. And after a while, we started sleeping together, and obviously we started having sex together. And I had, like, all my life, like as a baby, a little child, I had a teddy bear. I always held my teddy bear at night. I got to the age where I started thinking about girls. I started holding my pillow at night. I always that was my fantasy, is to be able to snuggle with a woman. And even though, like, Rachel was mentally handicapped and she wasn't very attractive, it felt really, really good to hold her. And I didn't ever want that feeling to go away. I wanted to be held all night, every night, till the day I died. And I talked to her about that, and she agreed. And, you know, if you look at Rachel now, you can't imagine she and I ever having a conversation about anything, because she's basically incapacitated. But she really, at one time, she had a driver's license. She rode a motorcycle to work. I mean, she had a career. And so it just seemed to me like, since I was never going to no one was ever going to fall in love with me, and no one was ever going to be, you know, marry me or be my girlfriend. And I had a woman living in my house who obviously was going to be living with me forever, that it would be okay to go down to the courthouse, put her name on the deed to my property, and marry her. And after about a year of sleeping with her and having sexual relations with her on our honeymoon, she pulled away. And that was it. In 33 years that we've been together, she and I have never once had consensual sex.
Since you got married, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since you got married, right?
Yeah, on our honeymoon is when it started. I mean, it's not like, you know, I found out since then from talking to other people that basically that's how all marriages go. Most of them don't stop on your honeymoon. You know, most people actually seemingly go on a honeymoon and have about a year of romance and sex, and then it just stops. I never got that. And to me, it's like, when I'm complaining about my wife cutting me off, I think most people watching this would be, so what? That's the way marriage goes. That's just the way it is. But I'm not that man. I want it to be held forever. And so this was horrible torture for me, because I had already put her name on the deed to my property. So even if I divorced her, I couldn't go to the judge and say, that's my house. So I had a choice. I could take care of this person forever, or I could give a free house to her family, because she couldn't, you know, if I'd have gave her house to her, her family would have got it. They would have sold it. She'd have gone right back to the people that she was, you know, living with before, because they were making money off of her. But I mean, as soon as I married her, she quit her job and she quit helping with the chores.
She basically just shut down on you, right?
Yeah, everything came to a stop. And look, I know people look at her and they think there's no way that she could have, like, planned this out. But when I would ask her, she'd be like tearing my house apart, and I'd ask her, why are you destroying our house? Her name was on it too. And she would just say, anybody who would put somebody else's name on the deed to their property is a fool. You deserve what you get.
So she knew what she was doing to begin with.
I know a lot of people don't believe in demon possession, but I do. And I really believe she's demon possessed.
Well, me and my neighbor Ricardo, we came down and seen you here 2 or 3 years ago, and stayed there with you for a week and met Rachel. And folks, you know, and this goes for the audience, people's listening. She is severely mentally ill, to the point where Ricardo, he's got probably 40 years of medical experience. And the first thing he was looking at, and he was talking about when he met with her, was that possibly a stroke, and I was too, is possibly a stroke, or maybe dementia or Alzheimer's setting in on top of mental illness. And but you've taken her to the doctor, you've had her checked for everything, and I keep coming back to the same conclusion that you have. You know, this goes beyond just mental illness. It's almost like demon possession, right? Because she acts two different ways. got somebody who could act and correspond and communicate with, like me and Ricardo when we were there, but then she flips, right?
Yeah. Well, the whole thing is like she speaks in two voices. Like she has a regular voice. In a regular voice, she can ask a real question like, "What are we eating this evening?" Or just regular normal things that people would talk about. Not anything deep. But she's got this high-pitched voice she uses that just says utter nonsense. Prior to her current situation, she had a really mean voice and her regular voice. I got her medicated. At the time that you came and visited it, I had been calling you because you're a police officer, and I wanted to know what kind of trouble I could get in with this person because her family had called the police on me. And you said there's nothing they can do, but I'll come down with my neighbor who's a nurse and we'll talk to her. And so your neighbor interviewed her and asked her some questions, and his conclusion was I needed to do something. And so I did. I went down and filed papers. I got her committed, and they got her medicated. But what had led up to that is that as I was creating my YouTube channel, I created a YouTube channel for her. And I was trying my best to get her involved in something because she's
gardening. At that time, it was gardening, basically. That's what
right.
the channel was about, right?
Mm-hmm. But anyways, one day I was in my house and trying to make a YouTube video, and she was acting up, just doing anything she could to keep me from making a video. So I got up and left. And I don't even remember where I went. I probably just went and sat on the beach, or maybe I went shopping. I don't know. But when I came home, I had left my camera on. I forgot to turn it off. So I was going through there, and I heard water running. Like while I was gone, the whole time I was gone, water was running. I could hear water running, and I'm thinking, what in the world why is the water running? And then I heard my wife talking to my dog, and she's going, "Oh, boo-boo. You have to keep a secret because Mama's not allowed to run Mama's not allowed to run hot water. Only Daddy's girlfriends can run hot water." And I know that doesn't sound bad, but my electric bill prior to her being committed was always bizarre, over the top. And in the course of our marriage, I had to purchase 5 different wells. I have to get my water out of the ground. And so there's a pump, and there's a long pipe that goes down into the ground at the bottom of that piece of pipe, there's what's called a jet. And that's $2,500. And I never could get ahead. Every time I would think I had a little bit of money in the bank, the well would go out. And I would have to get that replaced. Now, in 30 years, my parents have never replaced anything on their well, ever. But I had to do it 5 times. And that thing that's at the bottom of the well, I had to replace that, I think, 8 times. And that's $800. And on top of that, I had this bizarre electric bill. And suddenly everything was falling into place. And during that time, I had to replace the heating element in my hot water heater probably 30 times, which made no sense. My dad was a technician for Sears, and he worked on that stuff, and he showed me how to replace those, but I had to do that constantly. But then I realized that my wife had been running hot water all day long every time I would go to work. And suddenly, this is no longer I'm just taking care of someone who's, a distraction to me. I'm actually spending all of my money to take care of my enemy. This is someone who is intentionally my enemy just to do it.
Right.
And I'm on my side of the bed hugging a pillow with a woman on the other side of the bed, and I'm weeping regularly. I'm coming home, and I'm having to do all the chores because she won't do the chores. I'm cooking, I'm mowing the lawn, and I'm laying on my side of the bed crying for 33 years.
So for most relationships, I mean, people get married, and just like you said, the first year or two, everything's like the honeymoon just goes on. They have sex, but they still communicate. And as things start gradually taping off in a relationship a little bit, but you still, the ones that last, I'm thinking about like my parents, they were married for what, 51 years. Other people, it's been married just as long as I can think of. Um, they still get along, they still communicate. The thing when you're talking about not having a girlfriend, and obviously you're married, people don't understand what you're really talking about is you don't have anybody to communicate with. You don't
Right.
have somebody that's working with you, trying to have something, trying to build a home, trying to build a life together. You've got somebody that's blocking you at every turn in the road, basically.
Oh yeah, married couples that hate each other's guts will still, work towards building a bank account, building a credit score,
Yeah.
maintaining the home, all of that kind of stuff. And everything I did was being just destroyed by this person. I've never been in a romantic relationship. Now, sure enough, I slept with someone, I had sex with someone for about a year, and you could say that she was my girlfriend for a year. So, I mean, when I say I've never had a girlfriend, technically I have had a woman.
You've experienced that, but you hadn't had experienced something where somebody's planning a future with you, planning to go on trips with you, vacations and things like that, right? Somebody that even plans to go out and maybe even a simple thing like putting in a garden or something like that. She's never been one with you at any of that. She's not supported you in anything you've ever done, right?
Right. No, she's just always been, in all honesty, looking back over the course of my life, she's not even like a person. I call her it all the time because, well, first off, we live in a time when you get to choose your gender. So yeah, she's got female body parts, but she represented herself as a heterosexual female in order to get her name on the deed to my property. That's not a girlfriend. That is the most vile act that any human can do. And then within 3 weeks of being married, she's ridiculing me for it as a fool.
So basically, she was basically like a gold digger, but not maybe as sophisticated as a gold digger as you would think. But she was smart enough to get you to marry her and get her name on the deed to your property, right?
Right. And to this day, I mean, first off, I've talked to people of the mental health thing. Once I got her medicated, then suddenly the electric bill went way, way down to half, less than half of what I was.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've never had air conditioning or heat because I couldn't afford it. Now I get to have air conditioner and a heater. And my electric bill is less than it's ever been. The people that are in the mental health system will tell me that Rachel can't help it. She's mentally ill. And my whole thing is, how can signing a piece of paper make someone mentally ill? She went, on the day we got married, she went from being my friend to being my enemy. And she had no support system. It's not like she had a group of friends or family that she talked to or workmates. She had no one but me. And she made it her life work to attack me. She's like a machine. She engages in disruptive, destructive behavior. That's all she does. She doesn't do anything else. And she owns my house.
Well, hopefully, like I said, hopefully this gives the audience, the people that's listening to you every week, and especially some of the people that wrote in and didn't like, what you were saying about her not having a girlfriend. Hopefully this kind of clarifies to them a little bit what you've been going through. You haven't had a wife. You haven't had a girlfriend basically for 33 years. I mean, and what girlfriend you did have, obviously that was an act. That was an act to get a piece of paper signed so that she could live there in that house forever with you taking care of her. And that's what she did. She quit working. She quit doing everything. She sat down and let you take care of her for the last 33 years. So everybody in their mind, they're going to ask, next question is going to be like, people are sitting there thinking, well, why didn't you just walk away or you didn't get a divorce? Well, you've answered that too. You didn't want to lose your house, right? because you
Right.
didn't have income. You're disabled yourself, so you're kind of stuck.
But as soon as I got that audio recording of her telling the dog that she was, destroying my well, I stopped making eye contact with her.
You did that video right after me and Ricardo came down to see you. So you just really basically discovered that thing just since then. It's been the last 2 or 3 years.
Right.
And really, I think at the end of this video, I think you should probably show a little bit so the audience can see what you've had to deal with.
Sure. I've thought about that. I shoot video of her every now and then, the way she's acting, because she's deteriorated to where there's not much of anything left. I mean, she got, probably 10 years ago, she got to the point where she, I would interact with her at one point. Now I just ignore her, but she would say, "I can't find her." And I'd say, "Who are you looking for?" And she'd say, "The cat." And I'd be like, "You're holding the cat." And she would go, "Oh." And a minute later, she would go, "I can't find her." And I would tell her, "You're holding the cat." I would actually have conversations with her about this stuff. And now she says, "I can't find her." I just walk past her. I don't say anything.
So you still got the 2 different personalities that you're dealing with.
Oh yeah, when she says that, it's the high-pitched voice.
And for everybody out there, I mean, I've been calling and talking to Eric probably for the last 5 years or so, 6 years, and ever since then, I mean, I've always tried to be nice to Rachel, but she's always, every time you've ever got on the phone, she's right there in the background.
But I mean, she can, if I can't respond to her. If I respond to her about anything, I can't stop it, because she'll say, "Where's the cat?" And I'll say, "I don't know where the cat's at." And she'll say, "Is the cat upstairs?" And I'll say, "I just told you I don't know where the cat is. You think the cat's in the bathroom?" I mean, she can do that all day long, and it is maddening. So I don't know what's wrong with her. I just know that she's absolutely, like, completely incapacitated. And I have to be her caregiver. I always say, I feed it, I clean it, I transport it, I medicate it, and I entertain it. I've been saying that for 30 years. But once I got her into the system, I told her doctors, I'm not doing anything for her anymore. By law, I have to feed her. So I feed her. But like bathing her, the last time I can't even bathe her. I'm too old. My back hurts. I can't fight this woman. She weighs more than me. And the last time I cleaned her was about a year ago. I think she voluntarily took a bath maybe 6 months ago, but she is so raunchy. I mean, it's gross that she's living in my house like this, but there's nothing I can do. And I mean, I guess, I told her caregivers, that's it. I'm not doing anything for her anymore except feeding her.
And you're probably going to get to the point where you're going to have somebody come in and actually bathe her and start taking care of her a little bit more. You're going to need more help at home.
I already do, and I have no resources for that. They're like, "Oh, well, she needs Social Security so that she can get into a nursing home."
So and that's another thing I want to bring up. For the last 2 years, you've been actually trying to get her into a nursing home, and our system is so great in this country, you can't get her in one, right?
I have been trying to get her on Medicaid or Social Security or something for 30 years ago. I took her down and tried to get something done with her. And in 30 years of her being 100% incapacitated, she doesn't qualify for any benefits because I'm too rich. My income is too high for her to get on Social Security, SSI. Without SSI, I can't get her in a nursing home.
So you're stuck.
I'm stuck. And if I drive away, just leave, I can go to jail for abandonment.
You're the bad guy, and you'll lose everything anyway.
I'm always the bad guy. I'm always like, her family called the police on me right about the time that I started telling you about stuff. And my family called the police on me like 3 months ago. I went on a 1-week vacation by myself. And while I was gone, the police were called. When I came back, I had to answer questions for the police.
So what's next?
I don't know. I mean, you've offered me a place to live. Other people have offered me a place to live. There may come a time when I just get in my car and leave. I mean, I don't know what they'll do. I mean, somebody somewhere will have to come in here and do something, because she'll be walking up and down the road naked after I leave.
So back in the 1980s, President Reagan cut funding to mental health at that time. We got people going hungry. We got people with mental health issues. We have people with medical issues. We have issues just like you have. You've got a problem right there at your house. You can't get Rachel in anywhere. You've tried, and just nothing. Great country we live in, right?
I looked up when I was trying to get her in, I came across information that back before that time you're talking about, there were like thousands of beds available for mental health people. I mean, that right up here was a huge mental health facility. They've shut it down. But people who are mentally ill could live there, and they would have their needs taken care of. They could get them involved in activities and all that. And the government decided that that was against their constitutional rights to lock them up when they haven't done anything wrong. So they've eliminated, over time, they've eliminated almost all those beds. So the thousands of beds they used to have, now they have about 100, 200 beds in the entire state of Mississippi for mental health patients.
In Columbus, we had a huge place called the Hilltop Mental Health Hospital here that was shut down in the 80s, and there's hardly anybody in it. And yet we have tons of homeless people who have mental health problems lining the river not too far, the main what we call the Scioto River here in Columbus. You got tons of people, they're homeless people that live by the river down there, and that's just blocks away from where the mental health facility used to be at.
Yeah, well, once they shut the mental health facilities down and they pushed all those people out, they had nowhere to go.
Right.
They just went down the street and got a cardboard box or a tent, and that's where same thing over here. There's, when I was a kid, I never saw a homeless person, ever. And now there's homeless camps all over the place. And they're all mental health patients that should be in mental health facilities.
So going forward, I mean, a lot of people, we've been sitting here talking, and I hate to say it like this, but Rachel is like, you've already said it. You water it, you feed it, you take care of it. It's just like having a house plant. She's no different. She's actually digressing and getting worse all the time. And what do you think your future is? What are you going to do from here on out?
I don't even know. The reason I've never talked about this with anybody is because it's really embarrassing. Because I mean, the whole thing is, a lot of my neighbors, my family, workmates, people I was in the military with, they watch my videos. And you can believe that most of them are laughing right now at me talking about this, because I've always been the village idiot. I've always been the town loser. It's just funny to watch me suffer and to know that I cry myself to sleep at night. That's a big joke to these people. So I don't want to make videos like this, but I felt like I had to. Because,
yeah, I think after you told me, how people had wrote in and a lot of people were confused, I told you, hey, we got to make a video just so clarifying all this stuff. Yeah, you've had a girlfriend. Yeah, you've had sex, but you really haven't had a girlfriend, and you've not had a real relationship in 33 freaking years. Well, let's just go. You're almost 60 years. You've not had a real relationship with anyone. And right. by that, what we mean is a real relationship where you have somebody you can talk to, make plans with, do things with, somebody to build a future with. You've never had anybody building a future with you. All they've done is try to destroy you this whole time.
Yeah. And, I mean, honestly.
And you being the good guy, you're still taking care of her.
If a woman were to move in with me, it would have to be a very special kind of woman, because she'd have to be moving in. And there's no way, if a woman lived with me, there would be no way of her getting out of taking care of my wife. She would have to help with the care of Rachel.
Right.
And no woman wants to do. First off, no woman wants to be perceived as the other woman. in this society with these stupid rules they've got. But secondly, it's hard because I mean, I'll be laying in bed at night at 3 in the morning and I hear somebody downstairs goes for hours and hours and hours on end.
It's real because when I call you, I hear it.
Yeah, and I mean, and another thing is, by me making this video, I'm putting information out there that can be weaponized. I mean, like I said, my Rachel's family called the police on me a few years ago. About 3 months ago, my family called the police on me. So these evil people, they're obsessed with hurting me. They don't care if it's right or wrong, and they know that the police are not going to do anything about Rachel. But all they're thinking is that if they can get police in my house, they'll find something. And that's why my family and Rachel's family send the police in here from time to time.
And basically, they use that also as a harassment technique too.
Yeah, that's all it is. You know, as a cop, that most of the calls you would go on would be people just trying to cause sadness for somebody they don't like. It's terrible. People look at me and they're like, "Oh, you got a house, you've got, food, what are you complaining? Your car's running. Why are you complaining?" If you sit in a house with a crazy person making noise all day, it really will drive you crazy. You'll lose your mind.
But when you've got somebody that's supposed to be your mate, your companion, and they're not your companion, not your mate, and they're doing everything to destroy you, but it makes it hard to live, doesn't it? Every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole thing is, as long as she's here, I mean, I talk about how lonely I am. It's not that I'm lonely until I find somebody. When you have a mentally ill woman living in your house, that's like you're never going to find anybody. And I mean, like I said, I'm going to turn 60 in May. I have never. My whole thing is I didn't become addicted to snuggling with a woman when I met Rachel. I was born wanting to snuggle with a woman. I'm a man. And I'm at the point now that I'm old enough that about 3 months ago, it was brought to my attention that I would never, ever, for the rest of my life, have a woman to snuggle with. And for years, I've been laying there with a pillow with perfume on it, holding it at night and pretending like it was my girlfriend. And since then, I haven't even been able to I can't even pretend anymore. I just, every day, I cry at least once a day because I just know my situation is hopeless. I'm never, ever going to experience what that's like. And I mean, I'm out of my mind with that.
And again, for the audience out there, what Eric's talking about, he's never going to experience, and like in a normal relationship, the joy of taking a vacation together, going out and planting a garden together, or just going to the grocery store together, and picking out groceries and doing the normal thing that couples do. He's never had the chance to do any of that.
Yeah, but in all honesty, I mean, I hope there's other people like me out there that are listening to this, because I guess most people are cold-hearted. They don't care. But for the year that I was living with Rachel, I mean, I can still remember what her head felt like on my chest at night. When she'd be laying across my chest with her head on my chest and her arm around me. And I just thought, if I have to go one day I'll never be able to go without this. If I have to go one day without someone to snuggle with, I'll lose my mind. And it's been 30 some odd years. And I mean, if she would get uncomfortable and roll off of me and have her back to me, I would back up so my back was touching her back. It was such a good feeling to just have that warm body there. And so on my honeymoon, to have no one to hold, yes, this is a nightmare I'm living. When I got married, she quit her job. I would have to come home, and I was working like 50, 60 hours a week. I would have to come home and prepare the meals. I would have to clean the house. I would have to mow the lawn. I would have to maintain the car. And when I asked her to help me, she would say, "You're the husband."
And this is the thing, a lot of people out there in the audience, when they're listening to Sustenance Covering, you don't realize what's going on behind closed doors, but that's what's been going on.
Oh yeah, people will thank me for the videos I make. I make videos, Bible-based videos about things that have not been heard for thousands of years, and people are thank you for the information. They cannot even imagine what it's like to be trying to produce videos where I have to write a script with someone in the background screaming, or for me to set up all my cameras and equipment. And I had to go in the woods to make videos because in my house there was just nonstop noise, screaming, knocking frying pans together, slamming doors, all of that stuff just to try to stop me from making videos. I actually had to go into intense spiritual warfare to make those videos. It's not just the act of making them was hard enough, but if people knew what I was going through while I was making them, I mean, I look like I know what I'm doing, and I'm spiritually strong, and I'm content. And that's because I know how to edit video. All the places where I break down crying, or where my wife comes in screaming and breaking things, I just edit them out.
People got to remember too, life wasn't that easy for Jesus either, right? So yeah. I guess that kind of answers all the questions. I mean, if people don't understand it by now, we're never going to get through to them what's really going on behind the scenes with you there at the house. And again, you've tried to get Rachel mental health help, and you're still working week to week on that. And it may come a time where you get her into a nursing home. They may not be. You may be stuck there forever with her. So, and again, another point for making this video was there's people out there also that have mental health issues themselves, and they have loved ones that do. They're living with every day, and maybe this will help them and at least make them feel like they're not alone.
Back when I went on my little vacation and the police were in my house, I actually became suicidal, and I made the conscious decision that when I got home, I was going to kill myself, because I had a gun at home. I didn't have a gun where I was. But I had a week to think about it, or a few days to think about it. And it says in the Bible, no man knows the day or the hour when Christ is going to return. And so my whole thing is, I've made it this far. I have to stay alive until that happens. It's got to happen soon, but it just seems like it's just around the corner.
I think it's worth waiting for.
I don't know how much longer I can hang on, but I really don't want to live in this world anymore. I really don't.
It's a struggle every day for me too.
You've always been there, so you know what I'm telling you, that I really did get suicidal, and it was you and a couple of other people that said, I know in my heart that Christ is going to return soon. All you have to do is be patient. And so that was a huge part of why I'm still here today. But you're not going to be able to give me pep talks forever.
Yeah, man. I mean, we got to move past this. We got to something's got to give. I want, and I'm sure everybody out there that tunes into Sustenance Covering every week wants to see you making Bible videos, and they want to see you happy. I want to see you happy.
I cannot even imagine how God could fix this so that I could sit down and write another script. I wake up completely scatterbrained every day. Like I say, I cry every day. I hate my life. I hate everything about my life. I can't see me ever being able to function again.
And that's basically just because you're basically, even though you got somebody there in the house, again, this is why we're making the video, you're still alone.
I'm basically broken. It's like, even if I get her into a nursing home, I'm broken. There's parts that are broken on me that probably can't be fixed.
Well, you can't get back the last 33 years, right? But that, I guess, was kind of the point of us making this video today, just to share with everybody, let them know what's going on. If they're suffering out there with people with mental health issues in their family, or if they feel the same way, hey, you're not alone.
Yeah.
So the only thing we can do for everybody is just pray and keep waiting and hoping and praying to God that He returns soon.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Yeah.
No, well, I think we've answered everything. Maybe, I'll make a link to this video from the previous video, and maybe anytime I mention anything like about this, I'll make a link to this video.
That, and I think you probably should share with people some of the videos that Rachel and how she's acted, carried on there in the house.
Yeah.
You sent me a video here about a week or two ago, her laying in bed moaning, and just, this is constant, people, all day long. So
yeah, she just moans, she rocks back and forth, and she says things that make no sense. With one of her arms up in the air for some reason.
I've said it 100 times, Derek. I mean, I really feel sorry for her. It's like a life wasted, life gone, but we can't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the power to. You don't. Only God does.
Right. It's not that this would be easy if I was getting paid, but oh my God, I mean, there's a lot of people that wish they had a job, and if they would start putting funds back into mental health and opening up some of these beds, instead of me working for 30 years unpaid with no vacations, people could be getting paid a salary to do this and working in shifts.
And again, if you get a divorce and walk away from that situation, you end up giving basically her family half of everything you got.
Right. I'd be forced into homelessness, just like just like Rachel would be.
Right. So there you go, catch-22 situation. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Right.
So
again, well,
the only thing we can do is pray to God that He fixes it. So
yeah. And hopefully there's others listening to this that are in a look. You know what I'm really hoping is that there's somebody out there that watches my videos that knows their way around the law that can help me, because I've gone to all the professionals around here, and it seems like they're all completely oblivious to how to put somebody into a facility when they're in this situation.
Yeah, there's no help.
Right. Well, nobody wants to stick their neck out. So the people at the mental health facility are not willing to help me. Her regular primary care physician is not willing to help me. Medicaid is not willing to help me. Social Security is not willing to help me. At least so far, I haven't found any of their caseworkers that are willing to stick their neck out for me. Oh, well, that's it. I guess we'll put this video up as soon as we can, and maybe we'll post another one next week. But as always, if you don't want to survive,